Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Groot Nibbelink. I'm the creator of Apples Ginos, originator of the Zero G draft strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to talk about some of the biggest hot shots and have nots of the early season. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
I'm still, I'm still in shock over this baseball game I watched yesterday. My God. I mean, Nate and I were talking a little bit before the show here. Like we're not the biggest baseball fans in the world. Nate's probably a bigger fan than me. I'm definitely a fair weather fan. I jumped on the bandwagon there with the Jays, but that's just some like elite sports right there. That's the pinnacle of sport. It makes me want to wear one of those hats that just says like MLB on it. You know what I mean? Sports, go sports. But yeah, that was some unbelievable stuff in that ninth inning. I don't know. Were you you watched the game obviously yesterday, Nate?
I did watch the game. I was definitely disappointed at the end of it. But yeah, what cinema at the end of the day? Like, you can't argue with that. You're saying, I think it was the sixth game 7 of a World Series all time that went to extra innings. So yeah, crazy stuff. Really fun to watch and very tense. I was literally like pacing right behind me here. I was
It's
pacing
funny.
back and forth.
My wife, like even more of a fair weather fan than me, and she was like, she does love sports though. Like when you get sports on TV, she'll be there, and she's like, her hands were all sweaty, and she was standing watching it. I was like, okay, yeah, she was just creating a nice sports atmosphere there. So we had a nice time until we didn't.
I think we should talk about a few other people who are not having a nice time. I think we should get into some Newsies. Let's start it off with one Mr. Rob Thomas. I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell.
Oh,
I had to
my
do
God.
it one time.
Perfect tuning as well. My God, you got honey in your voice tonight, Nate. What have you ever thought about going on American Idol?
Oh, so often, except I'm not American and I haven't quite approached idol status at any point in my life.
Semantics.
Okay. Well, Rob Thomas out again Saturday, remains day to day. Basically, we're taking this game by game at this point. It sounds like it's not serious, but it's been a while now since he's played, and the Blues desperately need Rob Thomas back in the lineup to get this thing rolling again. Not that it was ever really rolling. The Blues have had a real tough start to the year, but they definitely are missing their number one center. Penguins are missing Justin Brazeau. He's day-to-day with an uppy body injury. Should be back sooner rather than later, and we are going to talk a little bit more about Brazeau and what he's been able to do alongside Gino Malkin and one Anthony Mantha a little bit later on. A little teaser for the folks in the back. Zach Benson, we have a timeline now. His lower body injury that he suffered at some point last week, it was kind of random. It just came out that he was going to be going on IR and will miss about a week per Lindy Ruff. So hoping to have him back towards the back end of this week, maybe into the weekend. We'll find out as the week progresses.
He pulled a back muscle. He was vacuuming, right? But he stretched out. You don't want to stretch and twist, right? And that's what Zach Benson did. He stretched out and he twisted. And then, yeah, you got some type of injury there. The butler, Zach Benson. You see what I'm doing here, Nate?
I did see what
you're making the connection. I'm just putting it out there for you new listeners. All right. Just trying to paint the picture, a vivid picture that we're all excited about. Right, Nate?
Tremendously vivid. Thank you for that. Next up, William Eklund dealing with a lower body injury, did not play in this game here Sunday. That's still ongoing as we're recording, as we're sweating out our final matchups. I've got a couple that are literally points apart, and yeah. If at some point there's a loud cheer in the middle of the podcast, it's probably due to Jonathan Huberdeau scoring another goal in one league and then also probably sinking me in another league if he does. So yeah, that's where I'm at on this Sunday, sweating it out with everybody else. Tyson Forster out for a couple of games with a lower body injury of his own. So if you're looking at Forster, who has actually been performing quite well in a little bit of a secondary scoring role there for the Flyers, he's going to be out for a little bit. Patrick Kane, we found out, is not with the Wings for this little road trip that they're on. That means the earliest he could return to the lineup is this Friday, November 7th. Hopefully he's back for that, but at this point it's been a while and this is the most information we've gotten. So your guess is as good as mine for Friday. All right, Blake, I say we dive right into some hot shots.
So hot. Oh my God, that's scorching.
Scorching hot like Drake Batherson and Tim Stützle. These guys are doing the thing at the moment. And by doing the thing, I mean Drake Batherson has 5 goals and 11 points in his last 5 games. Stützle 4 goals and 9 points. Batherson is doing all this with 17 minutes average time on ice. He ranks 63rd in shots per 60, 8th in individual expected goals for per 60, and 15th in on-ice expected goals for 60. Stützle ranks 12th in on-ice expected goals for per 60, and 36th in individual expected goals for per 60, 18 and a half minutes for Stützle. The Senators have been a bit of a weird team. They had a weird start. Kachuk gets injured. I wonder what this team's going to be. But these two guys are absolutely popping off at the moment. What do you think is going on here? Where are you at with the Senators as a whole? And do you believe that Drake Batherson and Tim Stützle can drive this Ottawa offense on their own?
They can definitely drive offense, but any successful team is going to need more than one line. And I'm not sure that Ottawa has really had that here. Their defense has really been the problem, right? But it's interesting. Like, I dug in on some of the metrics here, just talking about Ottawa's defense, which has nothing to do with Tim Stützle, folks, but it's our podcast and we can do what the hell we want. All right. On 5-on-5, Ottawa Senators are 4th best in expected goals against, but their actual goals against is 22nd worst. Like that's crazy, right? And there's been some bad goaltending from Linus Ullmark and stuff. So all this to say, I think it's kind of it's like a boom or bust situation with the offense there in Ottawa, and guys like Batherson and Stützle are eating right now, and it's really good. That line is performing very well. I mean, 64% expected goals for percentage, 59% expected Corsi for percentage. They're tilting stuff out there. But I think one thing that surprised me, and probably you too, Nate, is Timmy Stütz. We should call him Timmy Shoots. He's been doing that. Timmy Shootsla. He's not really known for chucking pucks, and he's been doing that at a much higher clip. On the season, he's 56 overall in shots to goal per 60. That's a guy that's usually in the triple digits for sure in that metric. So it's nice to see. I don't think it's something that's completely unsustainable. I mean, we saw a player like Artemi Panarin all of a sudden just start shooting the lights out, right? And I think I'm wondering, with Brady Tkachuk out, if Ottawa's had to kind of go away from that sort of north-south style that they have, rush it in, get a shot, bang the rebound in, and that kind of really simple play. I feel like when you got a talented guy like Stützle and, in part Drake Batherson as well, you want to have the puck. You want puck possession. I feel like they're a bit more of a puck possession team with them out there, and that's really beneficial to a player like Stützle in particular, because he's so talented. So all this to say, I think they're good to go, but Ottawa needs to shore up their defense, and they got to get some better goaltending from Linus Ullmark. And I think you want to be playing with the lead, and I feel like they've been playing from behind in a lot of cases. They've been letting in a lot of goals. So I think this could potentially be sustainable, but they need some contributions from the other players on the team here.
Definitely. I'm tentatively more excited about Tim Stützle than I have been in the past. He's been overdrafted based on that 190-point season for whatever it is, the last 3 seasons now. But if he's going to continue to do this, then I could find myself getting a little more excited about him for sure. Again, and more often than not, this happens for a short period of time. We get excited and then it starts to taper back off over the course of, a full season. Players tend to regress to what they've done throughout their careers. So I'm not saying, I'm not saying anything. I'm saying,
I never say anything either, Nate. Don't.
Yeah, that's the whole point of having a podcast, right? Is to not say anything. No, I just think that the most likely scenario is still that Stützle regresses back from this, that's not to say that if Ottawa keeps rolling offensively, that he couldn't outperform what I had as a projection for him. That's definitely possible and looking obviously more probable given this latest run of not only efficiency but volume as well. So I am definitely interested in that. I am going to have to see more than just a 5 game hot streak, though, to make a long term decision on what I think the outlook might be for a guy like Stützle and how it might have changed. Drake Batherson being really efficient right now, but I think I would need more minutes there to really change my outlook on him. So I really like that for Batherson. But again, I'm not willing to adjust my priors too much until we start to see either a tick up in ice time for him or he starts to sustain these underlying numbers for a longer period of time.
Right.
Let's move over to Anaheim. Leo Carlsson, Troy Terry. As we're recording this, Anaheim is beating the Tar out of New Jersey. Hands up if you saw that one coming at the beginning of the year. But they are doing the thing right now. Cutter Gauthier got a goal and an assist. Beckett Seneca has a goal and an assist. Leo Carlsson, Troy Terry off the score sheet in this one, but in the 5 games prior to this one, Carlson had 3 goals and 9 points. Terry had 5 goals and 9 points, both of them skating around 19 minutes a night. Leo Carlson still not doing too much in terms of his individual stats, 130th shots per 60, 110th individual expected goals for per 60, but Terry's up there, 75th shots per 60 and 49th in individual expected goals for per 60. See on ice numbers where both of these guys really start to shine, 29th Corsi for per 60 and 25th expected goals for per 60 for Carlson, 7th Corsi for per 60 and 18th expected goals for per 60 from Troy Terry. Really, what we're looking at here is the Joel Quenneville effect. This is why we're excited about a lot of these Anaheim players and thinking that it might be the year that a lot of them really did take a big step. And we're seeing it from Carlson, we're seeing it from Terry, we're seeing it from Gauthier right now in spades.
Yeah, this is, I love the fact that the Ducks are doing kind of what we thought they might do. And it makes a lot of sense because of the players that they have that really hadn't been unleashed under Greg Cronin, right? And now we've got a guy who, yeah, in Coach Q, that is putting them out there and putting them in a position to succeed, at least offensively. This is another team that's just a complete dumpster fire in the defensive zone, right? Expected goals against at 5-on-5, 31st overall in the league. But their expected goals for 8th best. So that equals a really fun team to watch for fantasy hockey, right? If you got some Ducks on your team, you're loving life. And for a guy like Leo Carlsson, it's kind of a coming out party. Like he's had a nice couple seasons to start, right? But last year, I think he took a step back. His minutes took a step back as well. He went down from, over 18 minutes to just 16, 14 last year, right? And the power play was goofy under Greg Cronin, right? He only had a 50% power play share. Now this year, he's back up to 18 minutes. His power play share is 65%. He's cooking. And there is difference though. And this applies to Troy Terry as well. These guys look confident out there. They really look confident. They look like they have the coach's trust. They look like it's okay to make a mistake, right? And you're not going to get benched. You're not going to get a dressing down in front of the rest of the team, right? These guys look like they're being put in a position to do what they've always wanted to do and what they're good at. And it's not that unsustainable to me. I feel like Carlson, yeah, he's running hot with his shooting percentage. Terry as well. So those are going to come down a bit, but their line in particular is cooking as well, right? The Corsi for all these guys is above 50%, right? In terms of the line, Corsi for percentage, expected goals, all that stuff. They're doing the thing. So all that to say, if these guys are both on power play 1, Troy Terry and Leo Carlsson, I think we're excited to have them. And you got these guys both at extreme value in draft season. Like, what do you think, Nate, in terms of like maybe their point potential this year? Let's say this type of offense holds. Obviously, they're running hot right now, and it's going to come down a little bit, but it's certainly not going to fall off a cliff. Like, where do you think these guys can go? Are we looking at 70-point Troy Terry and Leo Carlsson?
Yeah, I mean, I had Troy Terry projected at 70 points to start the season, and I definitely haven't seen anything that would make me lower that. If anything, I'd be going higher based on the hot start here. I don't think I would go much higher. I think 70, 75 point Troy Terry is probably where I would project him if I had to redo it as of today. But Leo Carlsson is definitely looks like he's taken that step this year. This is the year where he's taken that next step to star status, number one center status for the Anaheim Ducks. And yeah, I think he is definitely in that conversation as well. 70 to 75 points doesn't seem that far out of the realm of possibility. And yeah, you can add Cutter Gauthier to that list as
Oh
well,
yeah.
obviously, with the start
Anybody in
he's
on
had.
him this year?
There were a few, I would say. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's talk about some Trevor Zegras, who has 4 goals and 8 points in his last 5, over 18 minutes a night, which was not a assured thing under Rick Tocchet, but we are very happy to see it. 62nd in shots per 60, 73rd individual expected goals for per 60, 109 in on ice expected goals for per 60. Zegras now up to 13 points in 11 games on the season. Really nice stuff from Trevor Zegras. And yeah, obviously, a lot of these guys with these early numbers, they are running hot. You have to acknowledge that. But I mean, in this game here today, which was not included in those stats I just mentioned, so they did play again today, and our stats don't refresh that fast, but was playing with Konechny and Couturier on a new look line there. Basically, just getting moved around the top 6 is Trevor Zegras. But the key thing for me is that he is the one creating wherever he's being put. He's the guy with the puck on the stick. His teammates are deferring to him. Like, he's the dude now a little bit in Philadelphia. And that was something that was definitely taken away from him in Anaheim under Greg Cronin. And he's feeling it a bit. And everything he's saying to the media, at least, I heard a bit of the Flyers broadcast against the Leafs there the other night, and they were talking about how mature he seemed, just talking with him, and his approach to it was just to be one of the guys and to contribute. Done with being, the cover boy for the EA NHL game, he was ready to just contribute. And so that's exciting if you are a big believer in Trevor Zegras. You've talked about it before. In past years, we've had big projections for Trevor Zegras. We thought he would be the guy to take that step that like Leo Carlson has taken for the Ducks here this year. We thought Zegras was going to be that guy, and he might be that guy. He just might do it in Philly this year.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. This is one of our sleepers in the offseason here in draft season. Trevor Zegras was on the list, folks. And for these reasons, like this is what I was hoping would happen. And, he's on an 89-point pace right now. That is not going to happen, right? He's not that player. But I agree with everything you said. This guy, he's noticeable out there, right? He's facilitating a lot of offense, but also he's engaged in some of the after whistle stuff. Like you can tell that he's dialed in. He seems intense out there, and he also seems like he's having some fun. So all those things to me are going to equal a really nice season here for Trevor Zegras. Philly, it's kind of a transition year for that team, right? You got a new coach in there. They really haven't had this kind of player on the team. I can't remember who said it, but I read a quote from somebody on the team that's like, yeah, this is like, they've always been kind of a lunchbox team, right? Like go out there, just try and grind out some wins, but they've never had this level of offensive talent. And now they have a guy like Trevor Zegras. They've got Matvei Michkov, who's still a work in progress, but these guys are going to cook this year. I think Zegras is obviously much further ahead than a guy like Matvei Michkov, and he's going to be relied on in some offensive situations. I think he's pretty much the best offensive player, just pure offensive player that the Flyers have. So I love that. And it's the ice time in particular, too, that I'm really excited to see. Like over 17 minutes. I think, we should temper expectations a little bit. He had a couple games over 20 minutes, or he had one game over 20 minutes and a bunch of 18-minute games. But Sean Couturier was injured for two of those games, I think. So, yeah, that sort of boosted up his numbers. He only had 14 minutes tonight, but like you said, or 14 and a half, but like you said, he was playing on the top line and he was on top power play. I think there were some penalties there that was kind of keeping his ice time down. So anyways, very exciting player. I think, I could see 70-point Zegras this year, and that would not shock me. I love the way it started, and I love the stuff that Coach Tocchet is saying about Trevor Zegras, because he appears to have the coach's confidence. And that is a really big key, because he didn't have that for 3 straight years under Greg Cronin, right? Even when he was healthy and out there, like Greg Cronin had him under his thumb. So you could tell that he's excited to sort of be unleashed again, and he's enjoying it.
All right, let's move along to one Marco Rossi, 2 goals, 7 points in his last 5 games, over 19 minutes average time on ice. 170th in shots per 60, 209 individual expected goals for per 60. That's not really Rossi's game so much. 83rd in on ice expected goals for per 60. So a lot of this is efficiency, but he is producing at a point per game level through 12 games on the season now with over 18 minutes average time on ice. Does seem like Hines is willing to use him. He started last game on that Kaprizov line. They moved some stuff around. It was Kaprizov, Rossi, Johansson as the as the most used Rossi line. So basically, the good thing is happening. He's getting 5v5 exposure to Kaprizov. He's doing this without a lot of power play one time. Has not had power play one for a few games here. Has moved in and off that unit depending on different injuries to the team. Zuccarello coming back in the somewhat near future could further demote him down that list of potential guys to get on power play one. So I don't think power play one is something we can really rely on with Marco Rossi. But if he's going to play with Kaprizov more often than not at even strength, Marco Rossi, in my mind, is definitely capable of continuing that 60 to 65 point pace that he showed us last year, and maybe a little more if he does get on power play one way or another.
Yeah, this is cool, man. It's again something I didn't really expect after what happened in the playoffs last year and sort of the stalemate with the contract negotiations in the offseason here, the trade rumors. I did not expect him to get this kind of ice time. So that is really the key piece, because if you give a talented offensive player this kind of ice time, even if he's on power play two, he's still going to do something for you, right? And Marco Rossi has been kind of the underdog for his whole career. And, I think he's probably really happy to have that contract stuff behind him. And he's getting put in good offensive positions, at least at 5-on-5. Like digging in on some of his 5-on-5 numbers, like IPP 70% after 12 games, pretty damn nice. Shots to goal per 60 is the highest of his career. Very nice. He's shooting efficiently. And individual scoring chances for are the highest by a huge margin after just 12 games. So I just like what I see under the hood with Marco Rossi, and I don't think that he is a player that needs power play two to really get to biz and to be, to take up a spot on your rosters, right? He's going to be a back end roster guy, but I don't know. To me, it's just the ice time, and that is kind of giving me a lot of confidence in rostering a player like this. And eventually Minnesota will figure it out at 5-on-5. They will start putting the biscuit in the basket, and I think Marco Rossi is going to be a part of that.
Couldn't agree more. Let's talk about his teammate, though, as well. Brock Faber. This is not a name that I was expecting to be bringing up this early in the season or at all, to be quite honest with you. But he's got a goal and 5 points in his last 5 games, 23 and a half minutes average time on ice, second amongst all defensemen in shots per 60 and third in individual expected goals for per 60 in that time frame, down at 131 in on ice expected goals for per 60. The Wild are not doing the thing themselves, but Brock Faber really trying to drag them into the fight. This is not a side of Brock Faber we have ever seen before. Him just suddenly being a shoot first, do it all himself, and do it effectively. Like the expected goals numbers there are pretty impressive. What do you make of this new look Brock Faber that we're getting all of a sudden, and it's resulted in some points here? What do you think is the outlook for Faber? Do you believe this? Do you not believe it? If even if he continues, maybe not at this level, but at a higher level from here on out, do you think that it's rosterable for fantasy rest of season?
I mean, if he kept this up, obviously rosterable for sure, but it's not real, right? It's a nice stretch for him. I think what happened here, there's 2 games in particular. He had a 5-shot game where he had 3 assists, and then he had a 7-shot game where he got 2 points, right? That's what's really bolstering these individual numbers that we're talking about. Not that they're not real. Like, he did have those games. He played really well, but the 2 games after that, a 2-shot game and a 3-shot game with nothing doing, right? No periffs really. I mean, like it's just, this is a classic case of a guy that's much better in reality than he is for fantasy. I also think what happened in those big games where he sort of popped off is the Wild made a conscious decision. Like that's when Zeev Buium was sort of getting like, you know what, we're going to put you on power play 2. We're going to minimize you a little bit. We're going to elevate Jared Spurgeon. We're going to elevate Brock Faber into a few more offensive situations. And he really ran with it. But I don't really believe in these individual numbers. I think Faber is the guy that we think he is, right? Because he's had, what is it? 5 points in the last few games here. What is it? 5 points in 5 games. He has 5 points in 13 games on the season, folks. Okay. So last 5 games, that's when he's scoring. He's on a 32-point pace. That feels right to me. Okay. I'm not like, if he gets power play 1 again, like yeah, he had 16 power play points in his rookie season there with Minnesota. That is best case scenario, and he got 47 points there. So I feel like, yeah, this is a guy that you can grab as a streamer if Minnesota has a good schedule, but he doesn't really do a lot of those things that we need for fantasy, does he?
No, he definitely doesn't, which is the problem. But yeah, it's something that you have to watch. You have to take note of when a player is able to have games like this and to just change his style so dramatically and in a way that so directly helps us for fantasy. You
Yeah.
have to take notice of that. And yeah, I mean, I don't mind a speculative ad if you're hurting for defensemen. Definitely. I think most people are on this. I think he's pretty widely rostered already. But if Brock Faber is hanging out there in your league and you're hurting for defensemen, as a lot of people are, he's 47% rostered currently on Yahoo. That's definitely a player I would not mind picking up on a few of my teams currently if he was available. Jacob Trouba is another one we have to talk about. Before the game here that's currently ongoing, he had 2 goals and 6 points in his last 5 games, over 25 minutes average time on ice. He has another assist in this game here today, also 53rd in shots per 60, 65th individual expected goals for per 60, down at 133 in the expected goals for per 60, the on ice number there. But I mean, Jacob True is kind of doing it all for fantasy at the moment. What do you make of this, Blake? We talked about the offensive environment being so much better in Anaheim. Seems like a little bit of that, at least, is going Trouba's way.
This is incredible. Oh, I love some Jacob Trouba. Every time I hear Trouba's name, I think of that show. You ever watch that show with your kids? It's called Booba. It's
I
like
have
this
not.
animated like guy. He gets into some hijinks. They're like 5-minute episodes. Anyways, shout out to Booba. That's maybe this is Jacob Booba from now on. All right, that's
Okay.
we're gonna try and make that stick. I don't know. Hit us up in the comments if you like that. Jacob Booba. Give us yay or nay, folks.
I'm not sure that everybody will be getting the reference in the direction that you're
Booba.
thinking
It's
of.
a fine children's program. All right.
Uh
We're
huh.
talking about Booba, the children's program, Jacob Booba. Anyways, this is a guy that I am definitely interested in. Whereas you saying Faber is a spec ad. Sure, I'm fine with that. But I think Trouba should probably be added until further notice, like with what he's doing. And I'm not counting on this offensive production, right? That is something that's not going to be sustainable. I don't think. I mean, he's going to get a better chance at it. I think with the offensive environment that's going on there, but the periffs are big. The periffs are huge, right? And he's getting massive minutes. Like in the last 4 games, like 28-30, 27-30, 23-30, and then 26-30. That's huge for a guy that hits and blocks the way this guy does, and he's shooting as well. So I think Trouba is a really nice ad. He's playing with Olin Zellweger right now, and those guys together have really put some nice numbers together in terms of Corsi for percentage, expected goals for percentage. They're in the 60 percentile doing stuff like that. So regardless to say, I'm into Jacob Trouba. I've picked him up in 2 spots. Like in a points league, no. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense unless you have really good banger weighting. But I mean, I have him in a points league in our fantasy puck creator league actually, and this guy he's flying out there. Like even if he doesn't score, I'm getting massive points because the peripheral weighting on shots, hits, and blocks is pretty high in that league. So I'm loving life. I think you could do a hell of a lot worse than Jacob Trouba, and I don't think people are too in a hurry to go out and get Jacob Booba off the waivers. You know what I mean? Like this guy can do stuff, and Anaheim has that amazing off night schedule. So yeah, I'm here for this.
It is pretty hard to figure out why he isn't rostered in more than 48% of Yahoo leagues, especially with such an enticing name like that. Let's continue on. Before we get to the have-nots, got to talk to you quickly about the Apples and Ginos Patreon. Supporter tier, $2 a month gets you Apples and Ginos Patron League eligibility. Right now, that means that you'll get onto the wait list, and we do have some managers that have some questionable availability. Some people have already inquired about getting their team moved to someone on the wait list, so there's definitely a chance for you to get in and get in relatively early when you can still impact your status for next year's APL tiering. So this is a good time to get in there if you were thinking about it but missed the window to get into a league this year. For the Apples tier, $8 a month gets you that APL eligibility. Also gets you access to patron-only Discord channels, patron-only live shows. We're thinking about a patron-only live show coming out hopefully sooner rather than later, but we want to talk about waiver wire process. So if that's something that you want to zero in on for yourself how to make the best use of your ads every single week, then that is something that you could get into in the $8 a month tier. Also get show notes, including notes for this show, for the Waiver Wire show. Get access to the Apples Ginos player evaluation tool, which will get you a little behind the curtain on the player and let you make an informed decision on a guy that we might be talking about in a little bit here. If you're watching on YouTube, you know who I'm talking about. All right, Blake, should we get into it? You ready for some have-nots?
This guy jacks you up. Oh my God, I'm ready to run through a damn wall. Let's do it.
All right. Let's start with Artemi Panarin, who appears to have hit said wall and bounced off and fallen over. He has 0 points in his last 5 games, over 21.5 minutes average time on ice, 29th in shots per 60, 69th nice in individual expected goals 4 per 60, 6th in Corsi 4 per 60, 63rd in on ice expected goals 4 per 60. On the season, he has 7 points in 13 games, a 44-point pace for Artemi Panarin through 13 games. This is starting to be a bit of a sample size at this point. Where's your panic meter at on Artemi Panarin, Blake? 1 to 10, how panicked on Artemi Panarin are you?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I'm at around a 3 or a 4. That's like, yeah, you're right. This is a good sample size. We're looking at 13 games. I mean, he's not going to be, Jonathan Huberdeau, right? Like, or the Elias Pettersson. He's not going to be that. I really don't believe that. I still think, this season he can bounce back to get, over point per game. I think that's still in the wheelhouse. But yeah, it's concerning for sure. It's nice that he's still shooting a lot, like you mentioned. I mean, last 5 games, like 29th overall in shots over 60. It's what you want to see. But it's the Rangers. I don't know. There's something off with that team, and it's really hard to put my finger on. Obviously, they have a new coach there, and they're trying to work some stuff out. But it feels like the bad vibes from last year are kind of continuing on this year. One of the things I will say is that their defensive play has gotten so much better, right? In terms of expected goals against the 5-on-5, they're first overall in the entire league. The Rangers, right? And then, but the offensive environment, it's like they're finishing. They can't finish. And that's a really hard thing to, at least at our level of fantasy with the data that's available to us, to understand why are they not finishing, right? Like they're 11th best in expected goals for at 5-on-5, but they're 28th overall in actual goals for. So that's piss poor. Damn, like, it's there's a lot of luck involved. Like early on in the season, the metrics for a lot of the Rangers they were really good, right? Guys like Zibanejad, Panarin, really good under the hood metrics. Like some of those metrics are falling off a little bit. Like looking at Panarin's individual numbers, his IPP this season at even strength, way down. Shooting percentage, obviously terrible. Shots on goal per 60, not great, right? And then the on-ice shooting percentage at 5-on-5 is laughable, right? Like it's at 6% or something like that. So all that to say, I still have faith in the player, but yeah, it's dwindling a little bit. They obviously got to get their power play going. That's been a problem. That was a problem last year, and it's a problem again this year. Their power play is 30th in the league. The Rangers, it's basically the same guys that were in top 5 2 years ago. So I'm not sure I'm understanding that. Hopefully, I mean, having Vinny Tro out is going to affect things, but it shouldn't affect things this much. I don't know. I feel like this is still a guy that has point per game plus potential this season. I don't know. Where are you at with him, Nate?
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, my assessment of Artemi Panarin has not really changed. I think he's probably my biggest buy low in the league currently. I don't see much reason to get too panicked in the underlying numbers. If anything, like this just shows how bad the team's been
Mm-hmm.
currently, but there's still so much talent there. I do kind of believe that Mike Sullivan's going to figure this thing out one way or the other, at least to a respectable level. If not, like, they
Yes.
might not be a playoff team this year, but I don't think they have to be for Panarin to be very, very good for fantasy this year. So, yeah, That's where I'm at with Panarin. I am pretty unconcerned still. Like my panic meter is down in the ones or twos.
We.
It's not great. I obviously would have loved to have seen him pop off to start the season. That would have made me feel a lot better about it. But I don't think this is some sort of death knell for Artemi Panarin. Everything I see suggests to me that he's still the same guy. He's getting really hurt by a lack of finishing from some of his teammates here, but I still love me some Artemi Panarin. You still get the New York Rangers off night schedule, like still some good stuff going on there. So, yeah, go get Panarin if he's available. If somebody's getting panicked about this start, that's my 2 cents. Let's move over to Columbus. Adam Fantilli, Boone Jenner, Kent Johnson. We were pretty excited about like the variety of options that we were going to have in Columbus this year, and really that just hasn't come to fruition whatsoever. It's been pretty much Marchenko, Werenski, and then scraps. Like Monahan has been okay, and he seems to be coming on a little bit more of late, so that's a good sign. But it hasn't been great. Dmitry Voronkov we'll get to a little bit later, but in a really good spot, but not really producing too much. Kent Johnson included in this game today. Played 12. Where's my
Yeah, it was something like
tab
that.
again?
13 minutes or something.
12:06.
Yeah.
12:06 time on ice today, and that included 4 minutes and 12 seconds of power play time on ice. He played 7:54 at even strength. He is playing on the fourth line with Zach Aston Reese. That is where Kent Johnson currently resides. And that's just not going to do it. Like, I dropped Kent Johnson. People spent fab to get him after I dropped him, and I was just shocked. I was like, are we watching the same thing that's going on in Columbus right now? It's just not a good scene. I believe in the talent of the player, but like, how long are you going to hang on to a guy who's getting fourth line minutes? I just can't do it. Maybe in, like a 16 team league, maybe there's a spot for him. Even there, like, I don't know. It's really rough at the moment for Kent Johnson, especially, even though for Adam Fantilli, and Boone Jenner, they've both been hanging out in this kind of like 16-minute ish range over the last 5 games, and the underlying numbers are not that great. Fantilli's just been missing the net. He's 18th in individual scoring chances for per 60. That sounds great, but he's 153rd in shots per 60 and 203rd in individual expected goals for per 60. And that's all because he can't hit the net to save his life. He's getting the chances in good spots, but he can't put it on the net. And I'm starting to wonder if that's a little bit of a feature more than a bug with Adam Fantilli, because he has struggled away from Kirill Marchenko. He has struggled to be any sort of consistent offensive threat. And yeah, I think he's young. I think he figures it out. I'm still leaning that way, but if we're talking panic meter, it's much, much higher on Adam Fantilli than I thought it would be, especially this early in the season. And yeah, I wonder if he needs a Marchenko on his wing to really actually let him kind of cook. And that's a concerning place to be for your hopeful franchise 1C one day. So that's a tough spot. Boone Jenner, I love the player, but he can't generate anything on his own. It feels like he's generating chances, but it doesn't feel like they're super terrifying chances either. He's 88th in shots per 60, but 192nd in individual expected goals for per 60 in Mark Barber's 18 skaters model here. Again, I am not bullish on any of these second line, well, I mean, Kent Johnson's case, fourth line options in Columbus. How are you feeling, Blake?
Yeah, that's great analysis. I think Kent Johnson's a drop. Like we can't be here for this. Obviously, he was rostered this week because Columbus had that good schedule, right? You're getting the 2 off nights. I think that's the reason why people would be interested. But yeah, that's not going to cut it. Even on power play 1, like this is not a power play that's a wagon, folks. Their power play is 23rd overall in the league in terms of percentage and conversion. So yeah, that stinks for Kent Johnson. He's a great offensive player, but you know who's been so good for Columbus? The Coiler. Oh, buddy, he's filling the bowl. He did a double decker. He opened the back and he filled that up as well. What are you doing, Charlie Coyle? My God, I never thought I would be saying this man's name again for fantasy once he got moved to Columbus, but he's been great. He's been really, really great. That line with Cole Sillinger and Matthew Olivier, that's actually been the second line, right? Like that's
Yeah.
been a better second line. So, and I will say, like, that line's been really good. Columbus, their first line is still doing the thing, right? When you dig in on Columbus, they're still really good at, expected goals for at even strength and actual goals for. They're converting really well at even strength. So it's just this quote unquote second line of Boone Jenner Fantilli and Ken Johnson are not involved in any of it. So yeah, it's not a great place to be. I think, Boone Jenner, you need to have him rostered for categories leagues because of what he brings, but he's not even really cooking there to a crazy level, not to his historic levels. And Fantilli, I was just never, I wasn't excited about Fantilli going into this year just because he's still behind Monahan. And I believed they were going to use Monahan as the 1C, and they are. And I think that Fantilli needs an injury to really pop. So, if he does get that injury, I think it's a 60-point player. If he just keeps going the way he is, we're looking at 40 to 50-point Adam Fantilli. And then Johnson, if he's not getting the 18 to 20-minute treatment that he got last season from Dean Evison, he's a drop, right? Because if he's not scoring, he's not shooting, he's not hitting, he's not blocking, he's not doing anything out there. So go pick up the Coiler, folks. Oh yeah, he's doing stuff. Although they got caved in by the Islanders here on Sunday. It was a really bad game for the entire team. They looked like they had no business on the ice.
Yeah. It is a puzzling one. I'm wondering how much of this is just off the basis of the fact that it was a back-to-back. But yeah, Coyle led all forwards in ice time with 1914, won 4 out of 15 faceoffs.
Come on,
not
buddy.
his best showing overall, but yeah, it might just be a little bit of the function of this back-to-back and playing different players and trying to squeak out a win against a let's say not spectacular Islanders team.
How dare you?
It didn't happen. Just a tough look though for anybody not on the top line in Columbus right now is basically the takeaway here. Let's go over to Owen Tippett. Prior to the game today, Owen Tippett had just 1 assist in his last 5 games, about 17 minutes average time on ice, which again, not something that we were convinced was going to happen. Again, in this game here today, he had nothing, not even a shot on goal today for Owen Tippett. He has had like this hot start, got everybody very excited, and then immediately went into a bit of a tailspin. The on ice numbers are pretty putrid, 233rd in on ice expected goals for per 60. That's not going to cut it if you're trying to ingratiate yourself with your coach. I think Tippett is one of these guys who's like visually really appealing. He's kind of like got a little bit of that Brock Faber to him where you see him skate and you're like, wow, this guy can really move and he's got the puck on a string. And then you realize like at the end of it, he just kind of like backhanded it from the goal line at the goaltender. And you're like, oh, okay, that was not as great as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I feel like Tippett is a bit more flash than substance. And yeah, the flashes look really good, and he will have stretches where he gets hot because he does have like tremendous physical ability as an NHL player. I just don't know that he's got, maybe it's the hockey sense, maybe it's the finishing ability. I don't know what it is exactly, but I'm just unconvinced that Owen Tippett is going to be a guy that's going to be a difference maker for fantasy at any point this year.
Yeah, he's kind of a bull out there. You know what I mean? Just head down, just straight ahead. And yeah, like I guess you live and die with that in terms of his production. But it seems like he's missing some of the nuances there of play driving and kind of possession in zone, right? Like this is a guy that probably, I wouldn't say was thriving under Tort's system, but like it worked for him, right? Like just skate in, get a shot, jam it at the net, like skate back defense, skate back in. Right. There's not a lot of that kind of intricate sort of talent with Owen Tippett. So, yeah, I'm with you. And like this was a rough game, too, this last one. Talkit came out on Twitter is like, I feel bad for the fans. I feel bad for the fans that had to watch that. It's like, it's a bad game when the coach is apologizing to the fans after the game, right? It's a game where they were down only. It was 2-0 for a little while. They were down 2-1, and Owen Tippett only got 13 minutes and 18 seconds. So that should really tell you all you need to know there. I will say that they did put him with Forster out. They put Owen Tippett with Noah Cates, and I think that they were trying to use them in sort of a defensive line. So maybe that explains the lower ice time, right? They were trying to get goals. They weren't trying to, shut the team down. But I don't know. Like, you're telling me Owen Tippett isn't one of your offensive options? Like, what is he then? I don't know. He's a beautiful redheaded man, but it's not really working so far in the Talkit era of the Flyers here for Owen Tippett. So I'm not interested. I think he's a waiver wire player, just a guy you pick up when they have a good schedule until we see a little bit more.
All right, let's keep it moving. Let's talk about Pavel Buchnevich. Just one goal in his last five. 19 minutes average time on ice, still getting that deployment. 99th shots per 60, 53rd individual expected goals for per 60. Rob Thomas has been out for a while. Buchnevich is kind of doing this on his own here. And honestly, I'm like kind of excited about what we get out of Pavel Buchnevich here. It's not resulting in anything great for fantasy at the moment, but yeah, talk to me again when Rob Thomas is back in the lineup. Buchnevich has basically been stapled to Rob Thomas every time that they've both been healthy. I do tend to expect that that would stick. So yeah, let's get Rob Thomas back in the fold. Let's get Buchnevich, this version of Buchnevich, playing alongside him. And yeah, I don't think it's a guy that you have to like rush out and grab if he's been dumped to the waiver wire. But I do want to see what it looks like when this kind of underlying profile meets the talent of Rob Thomas coming back. I want to see it. I think we might have something here. 38% rostered, 6% down in the last day on Yahoo. Monday, Wednesday schedule here to start the week for St. Louis. Can I
Oh, damn.
interest you in some Pavel Buchnevich play?
Nate's planting his flag. Oh, buddy, I'm here for this. Yeah, I mean, Buchnevich, again, we've talked about this guy sometimes as a sleeper, sometimes as a bust, like over the years. It's an intriguing player for fantasy. He's not been very efficient here this year, but St. Louis has been terrible in terms of efficiency in general, and they're usually a pretty efficient team, right? But it just really hasn't been going very well. They've had terrible goaltending. Their goals against has been awful at even strength. But yeah, like we need Rob Thomas in here, like for Buchnevich to reach his potential. Like he's the sidecar, Rob Thomas is driving the main motorcycle, right? So it's always interesting to me to see what a player does when their line mate is out, right? And yeah, like you said, these underlying numbers, pretty good, but he probably has to do more, right? Because Rob Thomas isn't there. So I feel like they're kind of locked into their 1-2 when Rob Thomas is there. So I wouldn't really expect, the scoring chances, the expected goals to maybe the scoring chances to maintain as much as they are. So I don't know, but Monday, Wednesday, yeah. I mean, you could do a lot worse. He's a power play one guy on a pretty damn brutal team so far, but that power play has been pretty good. They're 12th overall in power play percentage. Take a ride with Booch. But yeah, we need to see Robert Thomas back in here. I really do trust the coaching there in St. Louis in terms of offense. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of Jim Montgomery, and yeah, I think they need their full complement of players to really pop here.
All right, let's move over to Sam Renzel. 0 points in his last five. Down under 18 minutes average time on ice now for Sam Renzel. Still 19th in shots per 60, 49th in individual expected goals for per 60, 102nd in on ice expected goals for per 60 for Renzel. And he's still on the top power play, but I'm starting to get worried about top power play status for Sam Renzel here as well. I'm pretty worried that at this point a little bit of the magic beans might have run out. How are you feeling about Sam Renzel? Are you holding on to him for this 4 off night week from Chicago here and then thinking about moving on from him, or are you willing to cut bait already?
You bet your sweet Bippy I'm holding Sam Renzel for this week. What? No, do not drop Sam Renzel in a week where they got 4 off nights, all right? As long as he's power play 1, but definitely manage expectations, folks. All right. This has been pretty stinky. Like you said, under 18 minutes. That show ain't no good. We can't have that, Sam. All right. What are you doing? Magic beans. He's been eating them. Oh, Sam, what are you doing? My mouth was open. It's terrible. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it's gonna be a slow go, right? This guy needs to develop, right? But who are they gonna put in his place, right? Like you got Lev Shunov, sure, you could throw him up there. Like the pickle, Alex Vlasic, would they do that? I don't see a better option. I really don't than Sam Renzel. Like, and I've watched a little bit of Chicago this year, and Lev Shunov to me, he seems a bit clumsy out there. Like he bobbles the puck a lot. Like it's just a young player, right? It's a young player trying to get his footing. I think Renzel's a little more polished. I don't see his power play 1 being in jeopardy, but that power play hasn't been very good. And I expected it to be a lot better. Honestly, it's they finished in the top 10 last year. They're 20th overall in power play percentage right now. So Yeah, hold him for this week, I think, for sure, for the 4 games, and then assess, right? But it's certainly not a guy that you have. He's not a must hold by any means. Like, if you have to drop him this week, even in the 4 off night week, go ahead and do that. Like, no one's going to be rushing to the waiver wire to pick up a guy that's getting 17 minutes a night and getting 0 points in the last 5 games.
Sam Renzel or Jacob Trouba?
Trouba. Give me Trouba all day. I don't even care. He doesn't need power play. I mean, obviously it's format dependent, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'm taking Trouba. I'm putting my flag down on there the same way that you put your flag down for Pavel Buchnevich. All right, that beautiful man, Pavel Buchnevich or Jacob Trouba. Jacob Booba. What do you think, Nate?
I would go with Buchnevich there for sure.
Wrong. Okay, wrong.
All right. Yeah, for my money, Sam Renzel, you definitely can drop as is just based on deployment and based on the fact that he's ice cold at the moment. Matt Grzelcyk is the guy that I'm actually the most worried about. I know, like, Chicago probably just wants to let their young guys do power play stuff and try to get them moving that way. I tend to agree that Lev Shunov has not looked great, and I don't think he's necessarily a strong contender to take it over from Renzel. But if they're actually trying to get this power play thing turned around, like they took Teravainen off the top power play before taking Renzel off, which is mind-boggling to me.
Who'd they replace him with?
Yeah, that's a name we don't need to utter more times for Blake. But yeah, Mr. Burakovsky was on the top power play, shockingly. Anyway, Matt Grzelcyk is the guy that I'm actually kind of worried about if they kind of decide to actually get down to biz. Matt Grzelcyk, I don't know how many people are even remembering what the Pittsburgh Penguins did last year, but they had a great power play, and Matt Grzelcyk handled power play 1 duties down the stretch for a good period of time and was pretty good at it. So that would be the guy that I would be worried about taking it over from Sam Renzel personally, and I think that could happen this week if Renzel continues to struggle.
Are you adding Grzelcyk this week?
I am not. Not until I see it.
No. Okay, there you go.
Jacob Chychrun, last on the list, 1 assist in his last 5 games, 25 minutes average time on ice, though. That's about as high as we've ever seen it in Washington. 10th in shots per 60, 1st in individual expected goals for per 60, 6th in on ice expected goals for per 60 on the season, 23.5 average time on ice. The role has expanded here for Jacob Chychrun, which is pretty exciting. The underlying metrics still look really good. I think maybe a big piece of this is honestly just Dylan Strome being beat up and Pierre-Luc Dubois being beat up, and the Capitals just struggling a bit more to find offense. But Chychrun, in terms of what he brings to the table, has been doing it and has been doing it at more minutes. I've sent offers for Jacob Chychrun. Him and Panarin are, to me, the buy lows of the week. What do you think about Jacob Chychrun, Blake?
Yeah, I love it. Jacob Chychrun is him. He's an amazing player. Like you said, more minutes and the metrics are maintaining. He's just not putting the biscuit in the basket. His team really isn't, right? It's another team that has an amazing expected goals for at 5-on-5. They're 4th overall in the league. Their actual goals for 24th. Okay, so the finishing is bad. All right, good analysis there. Finishing bad for the Washington Capitals, but it's going to come, folks. And he's still getting power play 1. They're doing the 2 power play defensemen there. I'm not concerned at all about Chychrun. I love this player, and yeah, I feel like he still could get like 20 goals here this year. But obviously, the Caps got to get cooking. They got to get healthy. But yes, throw some offers out there. That would be sick if you lock up Chychrun or Panarin here. Like, I feel like there's a good opportunity there. I like what you said about Panarin as a buy low, and yeah, Chychrun. I think people still view him as a power play 2 defenseman, but I think he's easily the best defenseman on the Washington Capitals for fantasy. Like, there's no question.
Love that. Well, that is it for the Hot Shots and Have-Nots for this week. If we did not talk about a player that you still want to hear about, make sure you join me for Monday's 8:30 p.m. EST live stream of the most puzzling players league-wide. We'll be asking that question to the Discord around noon tomorrow, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Get your player in early and make sure that it is upvoted a lot by the other members of the Discord, and we'll talk about it there. You can also come and ask questions live on that stream. Excited to get back out there with that live stream. Always a good time with the listeners. All right, Blake, we're moving along. We're moving on to a new segment we debuted last week called The Environment. This week, we're talking about some of the top lines league wide and what they are doing 5v5. These are all lines with at least 75 minutes and just basically sorted on Money Puck by expected goals for. Right off the top, you get Lehkonen, McKinnon, Natchez just absolutely destroying the competition. 11.6 goals for versus 7.8 for the next highest line. That's Connor Scheifele Velarde. Just insane stuff from these guys. But there are a few other lines that are really, really interesting here. And fourth place, you have the Justin Brazeau, Gino Malkin, Anthony Mantha line, which is not something that anyone would have seen coming at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
And I mean, at what point are we willing to say that this line could actually continue this kind of production for a good chunk of the year? I'm not saying like necessarily the end of season counting stats are all going to be there. I still think like these are somewhat limited players, Malkin by age, Mantha and Brazo maybe more by talent, but at the end of the day, these are guys that I do think could end up with a good number of points at the end of the season. Talk me off the crazy cliff here, Blake.
No, it's not crazy at all. You got to look at like this sample size that's a real sample size. It's not like, oh, they had a couple good games. Like, no, they've had a bunch of good games. And unfortunately, Brazo was injured there, right? So I don't know what that looks like. When he gets back, is he fully healthy? Are they able to sort of get back to business there? But Mantha's been really nice on that line as well. Malkin seems fresh. Like I never know with Malkin, like what type of injury is he battling, from season to season. Like there was that one year, like, yeah, he's people are thinking he's going to be unrosterable, and then he pops off, like, goes ham, gets a ton of power play points. I think he could do that again this year. Like, it's a very offensive player. He can't skate very well, but he works really well within this system that, Dan Muse has here. They look refreshed to me. Crosby looks good to go. Malkin looks good to go. And I don't know. Pittsburgh is a very intriguing team in general. Like, what are they going to do with Rust? What are they going to do with Raquel? Because they're winning games right now. So I don't know. Like, do you do that with guys like Crosby and Malkin on the team and you're playing well? Like, I would think you want to supplement them a little bit and get them some more to work with and try and do something, especially if they're going to keep going here. But yeah, I like that line there. Like Malkin, Mantha, and Brazeau, it's been pretty good. Brazeau being kind of the lower end. He's the guy that seems the most unsustainable to me. But yeah, what like it's been enough time where I think we have to sit up and take notice.
Yeah, have to agree at this point. I don't think that necessarily the point paces they're on is going to keep up. Mantha on a 69-point pace, which is pretty nice. Evgeny Malkin on a 114-point pace,
Of
and
course.
Brazeau on a point per game pace. Yeah, I don't think necessarily those point paces keep up, but could they be fantasy relevant for a whole season? Maybe. I'm not willing to rule that out. Maybe Dan Muse is just the whisperer of all whisperers, and that's what we're getting out of Pittsburgh this year. Who knows?
He's a vibe guy.
Maybe he is. Cutter Gauthier, Mason McTavish, Beckett Seneca on this list as well. It's just, I think there are kind of two major things at play here. One is Cutter Gauthier being the greatest player in hockey since Wayne Gretzky, and
Confirmed.
the other is Mason McTavish doing a lot of the grunt work of facilitating all of Cutter Gauthier's greatness. I think those two things are happening, and then Beckett Seneca kind of fades in and out game to game. It kind of feels like, which is to be expected for a rookie. I'm not really going to hold that against him, but still, he's a talented player, and so he provides enough to when he's put in a position with the puck, he's not just like dead weight on that line.
Yep.
So I think that's everything that's kind of going right for that second line there in Anaheim. And it's really exciting to see. I think a lot of these expected goals for are just Cutter Gauthier hammering pucks at the net with abandon. And so, yeah, maybe it's a little bit inflated, but still, it's something we're really excited about, as we've alluded to already. I want to keep going, though. I want to talk about this Josh Doan, Ryan McLeod, Alex Tuck line. This is a really interesting one for me, actually, because I really like Doan's underlying numbers. I think he's really, I mean, If you just go by underlying numbers, you might say Josh Stone, greater sign, JJ Paterka. That's probably a bit of a hot take. I don't necessarily believe that, and especially not for fantasy. But what he's doing is really impressive. I think Ryan McLeod is a really good center.
Mhm.
I feel like there's a little bit of like a new mold of center that's kind of under the radar. Some of these guys that they don't show up in the stat sheet in a lot of ways. They don't take a ton of shots. They're not big time hitters, but they really do facilitate everything that the wingers need to do. And you can put them with good wingers, and they just make the line go, being that glue guy down the middle. And I think Ryan McLeod is a good example of that. I think maybe Sean Monahan is like a more fully realized version of that,
Yeah, I
maybe
like that.
there in Columbus. Maybe Sebastian Aho is like the ultimate version of that, you know? So I really like what Ryan McLeod brings to this line. And then Alex Tuck has been a favorite for a lot of time. Uh, yeah, just does everything that we want in fantasy, right? Shoots, hits, blocks, brings it all to the table. And so for fantasy purposes, he's great. I just really like that line. I think that they could just be scratching the surface here, to be honest. I think that this could be one of the better lines for the Sabres all year long. Like it could be the second line that is outperforming the top line in most metrics. And yeah, I'm not willing to rule out the possibility that Doan and McLeod are actually fantasy relevant for good stretches of the year because of it.
Yeah, no, I'm here for that as well. I mean, when you look at these lines that we're talking about here, like this is something I'm very interested in is how a line is composed, right? And you got that center like a Ryan McLeod or like maybe a Mason McTavish. Maybe there's some similarities there. Like Mason McTavish and Ryan McLeod, they facilitate. They facilitate very well. And then you have a guy like Cutter Gauthier or Josh Doan that is kind of at the end of passes. They're pretty good skaters, right? Very good skaters actually, and they're firing the puck, right? And then you've got the connector in the other piece there with Seneca and Alex Tuck. It's just I'm interested in why these are working, and I like what you had to say about those centers there because there are these guys that they're unheralded, but I don't think Cutter Gauthier would be having the season he's having without Mason McTavish, right? And maybe the same can be said about Josh Doan and Ryan McLeod.
I like that. Lastly, just a couple of notes. Like, obviously, the Ehlers Aho Jarvis line is on here. That makes a lot of sense. The way Carolina plays the game, three great players. The Ehlers points are coming. I truly believe that. I'm holding on to him everywhere. I'm not close to dropping him anywhere. I've had more and more questions as
Yeah.
the cold streak has kind of
Every year.
continued here. But yeah, I fully believe in the player. They're committed to him now. It's not like in Winnipeg where there's always this kind of like, will he, won't he? Is he going to move on?
Yep.
Obviously, eventually he does. And now it's got to work in Carolina. There is no plan B here. It's Ehlers' top line, and you see it with them just sticking with him there. And honestly, I think he is doing good things for that team overall. Like if you watch the games, he pops on screen. It's just not ending up in the back of the net right now. So again, maybe a buy low candidate in Nikolai Ehlers. He is getting the Rod Brindamore treatment in terms of the time on ice, but I'm not all that worried about Nikolai Ehlers. And then Dmitry Voronkov is the other one I wanted to shout out on that Monahan Marchenko line and on power play one as well. They come in at number 6 on this list in terms of the expected goals for on Money Puck. And so, yeah, Voronkov is in a really great spot. I'm pretty concerned that it's not a safe spot, though. That's my biggest concern. We saw this last year where when the points stopped coming, Dean Evison was pretty quick to move off of Dmitry Voronkov, and that has kind of happened a little bit here. 1359, 1336, 1431, 1633 are his last 4 games in terms of the time on ice. It's just not exciting for a guy that's supposed to be top line, top power play. I'm a little bit worried about it at this point. I think you have to hang on to him because the underlying numbers still look pretty good. 38th individual expected goals for per 60, 16th on ice expected goals for per 60. So all of that looks good to me. It's really just about, is he going to maintain that role? What do you think about that one, Blake?
Yeah, it's very similar to last year, but I love to see that Columbus is still doing the thing at 5-on-5, and Voronkov is a part of that. He's on that line, and he's a part of why that line works. I think he's the smallest part of it, right? You got Monahan and Marchenko are really driving things there, and Voronkov's kind of just that, board battle, net front kind of presence. But it works. And so I think he's got a little bit of a longer leash because of it. But yeah, it's just something to keep an eye on. If the points stop coming with Voronkov, yeah, because their power play isn't working very well either. Like I think Voronkov could easily be taken off the power play there, now the top power play. And then yeah, if they somehow start kind of sinking a little bit at 5-on-5, I wouldn't be surprised if they shake things up. But for now, yeah, he's definitely a valuable player, and I think I'd love to see those underlying metrics sort of matching that. Oh, Nate's just on mute, folks. I don't know what he's doing. All right, he did. That's the first time I've ever seen Nate on mute, buddy. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. Wow, brutal. I was literally
You're
what
saying the most
happened?
profound thing you probably ever
Oh
heard.
yeah, yeah, and now it's gone. We'll never get it back. I'm sorry, folks.
Like a toot in the wind.
Yeah, that's definitely the analogy I was going to go with as well. Let's go under the hood with a player I'm pretty into. I'm pretty into one Mr. Brandt Clarke at the moment. I really like this player. Last 5 games, he's got a goal, 4 assists for 5 points. That's in 17 minutes, 32 seconds. Average time on ice amongst all defensemen, first in shots per 60, 6th individual expected goals for per 60, 25th in on ice expected goals for per 60. That's with second power play unit time. As we know, Los Angeles has been using that 5-forward power play. Worth noting, that 5-forward power play has not been great. 24th in the NHL currently in power play percentage. So if they do decide to bring a defenseman back into the fold, could it be Mr. Brandt Clarke? That would be pretty exciting for fantasy. Last 2 games, though, is where I really want to focus in on what's happening with Brandt Clarke at the moment. 20 minutes, 14 seconds, 21 minutes, 27 seconds time on ice in those 2 games. 4 shots and 5 shots on goal in those 2 games as well. And this is coming off the heels of a quote from Jim Hiller, where he was basically asked about Brandt Clarke, because actually I started looking into this and I went on to Twitter and I searched Brandt Clarke and it's basically just all of the Los Angeles Kings fans just like denouncing Jim
"What are
Hiller,
you
saying,
doing?"
"What are you doing here? You have to get Brandt Clarke more on the ice." So Dennis Bernstein is the reporter who asked Jim Hiller about increasing the time on ice for Brandt Clarke. He basically said that they had some penalty issues and that's why,
Sure,
but he
you did,
did
sure.
admit we have to get him more time. And then he went out and did it the next 2 games. We get tons of throwaway quotes like this from coaches all the time, where like, oh yeah, I got to get this guy more minutes, and then you never see it. But this is a case where he said that, and then literally the next 2 games were these 2 games where he got over 20 minutes time on ice. So that part is having me believe in it just a little bit more, get me a little bit more excited. And if he gets that kind of deployment, this is a guy who crushes all the other LA defenders in, Corsi 4 per 60, even Corsi 4 percentage. So at 5v5, he's driving play. Like he's tilting the ice in their favor, and maybe not in the like he's maybe a bit more high event than Jim Hiller likes, but at some point you just have to recognize what you have here in Brandt Clarke is a guy who can do good things for you more often than not, maybe be more Evan Bouchard in that kind of vein where yeah, the bad moments are going to look bad, but the good moments are going to actually win you more games at the end of the day, and you got to get yourself comfortable with that as a coach. Scoring chances 4 per 60, actually a little bit less than Drew Doughty in scoring chance 4 percentage at 5v5, which I thought was pretty interesting because that's not something that Doughty's normally higher up in. Might just be an early season outlier, but either way, Brandt Clarke top 1 or 2 in basically every metric amongst these defenders, which you would expect. But yeah, basically what I'm saying is, under the hood, it all looks good. It's all going in his direction when he's on the ice, and so he should get more ice time. Sure, you can not believe in Jim Hiller, and that's a valid point to make, but the last 2 games are a good little sample size here, and I'm willing to make a speculative ad on a player that if he gets 20 minutes a night, if he gets power play 1, that's a guy that could really pop off in my estimation. This guy who had a stud prospect profile. Everything looked really good in terms of his expected trajectory as an NHL defenseman. Terrific AHL numbers as well. Basically anything you would look for in a prospect, Brandt Clarke had in spades. And now I'm just hoping that he continues this extra deployment. Please, Jim Hiller, just give us 1 here.
I love it, buddy. You're going to be right about this one too, my man. Whether it's this year or next, like the Kings offense is terrible at 5-on-5. Like, why are you holding down a player that can help, that can make it better? It doesn't make any sense. And I think the fans are right to get on Jim Hiller a little bit. Like, this guy needs at least 20 minutes, and he needs a look on power play 1 at some point here. This 5 forward power play, like you said, 24th. That's showing no good. I feel like it's going to happen here at some point this year. And I think when it does, yeah, this is a guy you're going to want on your squad.
For sure. All right. Last segment here. It's a little segment we like to call the head-to-head streamer deathmatch. And I'm a little bit excited to talk about it this week. And that might be because Blake's Dmitry Voronkov scored 11.05 APL points and my Kyle Palmieri scored 19.4 APL points. That's a dub for you, boy.
Oh, my God.
Winner, chicken dinner over here. Blake's still up 2-1, so I can't crow too much. Next week, Blake's got the namesake, which is the preferred title for Jackson Blake.
It's a good omen.
And I've got Jordan Eberle for myself here, so we will see how that one goes. But I'm feeling good now, Blake. I've got off the schneid, and it's wheels up from here.
That's good. I want to lull you into a full sense of security here. All right. I mean, if Kyle Palmieri, sure, I'll take a loss to Kyle Palmieri. The guy, first off, he chugged 3 Monster energy drinks and then he just blasted through some drywall. He didn't give a damn. All right. There's, fist holes and everything. That sounds terrible. Shout out to Kyle Palmieri. You take the dub on this one, my man. But Jackson Blake, there ain't no way. All right. This guy's about to rocket to the moon. Come on, give it to me, Nate. Give it to me, Neil.
All right. Well, I hope it's not this week, but I do hope for the best for the namesake. But
Thank you, buddy.
if you've made it this far, if you've stayed with us through all of this insanity, then the least thing that you should do is join the Discord community and find some more sane people to talk fantasy hockey with on the regular.
Sure.
Like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, whatever you don't mind doing. It really does help us out. That is going to be all that we've got for this episode, though. Hopefully it brought you some value. It helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, Money Puck, and 18 Skaters. Many thanks to Mr. Matt Creamer for supplying the music for the podcast. That is it, folks. Much love.